All right. Good. Let's open with the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Roll call, Kylie.
Mauser,
Here.
Gilman,
Here.
Merritt.
Here.
McKellar,
I don't think we can answer
He's
yet.
walking away. He's sitting down.
yeah,
Nothing. He's not. He's muted still.
Mark? Can you hear us?
He's here. He's shaking his head yes.
Okay.
Battery's head banging then.
Okay.
He should be able to call in now.
Okay.
Okay.
and Brown.
Here. All right. Looking,
All right.
looking for approval of the agenda.
Okay, move to approve the agenda, which also includes the I item and with those parts in the packet. And
Hold
then-
on just a minute. Excuse me.
Absolutely.
I'll let you do it here. We need to make sure that the dial-in is working.
Oh,
Which you have some
We got
dial-ins.
some steps we gotta do first.
Yeah.
There's one dial-in and 4 people on the webinar.
Okay.
Okay, so we are up and running then?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
I have a question before I make that motion, and then I have something. In the minutes, it talks about possibly on a July meeting, discussing the app.
Yes.
Do you have anything you can add to that, so we have a discussion on that, or?
We're going to talk about it at the end, and then here's comments.
Never mind then.
okay, I move to approve the agenda, including the item I, which had parts in our packet, and then the additional blue sheet items of J and K. J being the resolution for authorization to sign the contract with MDOT, and also K, the Brownfield Road Development Agreement.
Support.
Motion by Jason, supported by Andy. Any further discussion by anyone? Roll call, Kylie? Everything will be roll call tonight.
Gilman,
Yes.
Merritt,
Yes.
McKellar,
Can't hear him.
He said yes.
He said
Okay.
yes.
McKellar, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Mauser
Yes.
and Brown.
Yes. Okay. Conflicts of interest. Any conflicts of interest tonight with anyone?
No.
No? No?
Nothing from Mark.
Nothing from Mark?
He's
No?
shaking.
Okay, very good. Okay, this is the first public comment. Pat.
Can we just take a time out just real quick
Yeah,
before we get any further? I'd like to introduce our 2 new employees here. Jay Seksuski is our new superintendent. They've both been with us for 2 weeks. And our second new employee here is Larry Lacrosse. He is our new IT manager. He's going to help us move out of the ancient times and into the paperless society and GIS-based everything.
I hate to point this out, but before he got here, we had no problem with me.
Yeah.
nice to see both of you here tonight.
That means you're welcome to the
Welcome
family.
aboard. Okay, Kylie, we're gonna let you start reading again here.
Any person may make an advance appointment with the board regarding road commission topics for a regular or special meeting in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. If an appointment is made, the topic will be an agenda item. The following applies to public comments. Please state his or her name and address. Topic must be relevant to the road commission. Individuals are allowed to speak once for up to 3 minutes on a single topic, which may be extended by the chair. A group addressing the board requires a designated spokesperson who may speak up to 10 minutes. The board will not act on any item from the public that is not on the agenda. For remote access users, Zoom, if you wish to participate in public comment, please raise your hand through the Zoom. For call-ins, we will unmute callers. If you wish to speak, say yes.
I believe this is a 30 seconds.
Yep.
Have to give them.
Caller with the last three digits of 1 or 2, if you wish to say something, go
Have you
ahead.
guys been able to hear me at all?
Now we can.
You had a mute.
Okay, so I just sent in my number to Joe, and he took me off mute, so I've been muted the whole time on your end, not on
Okay.
my end.
All right.
So I'm off, I'm gonna go off so the other members of the public can comment.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mark.
Nobody else? And no one's raising their hand.
I'll give another. There will be another opportunity at the end of the meeting, so anybody online will have another. Okay, action items. No appointments tonight. Consent calendar. Tyler?
The consent calendar is used to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together without discussion. Request by any person present to remove any item from the consent calendar for full discussion as agenda items are automatically respected. The action noted in parentheses for all items remaining on the consent calendar are approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar. The manager recommends the following items be adopted. 1, minutes. 2, payroll. 3, accounts payable. 4, financial reports. And 5, reports and communications.
Anybody like any item removed?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Support. Motion by Andy, supported by Jason to accept the consent calendar as presented. Roll call, Kylie?
Merrick,
Yes.
McKellar,
Did you mute him again?
Yes,
Mauser,
Yes.
Gilman,
Yes.
and Brown.
Yes. All right, item C, there are no items removed. Item D, resolution 2020-07-08, authorization to sign contract with MDOT. This would be Wayne.
Do we want to request the board to move item I up to discuss the bids?
This is just to give authorization. This is a separate one, so we can just handle it now. We'll leave that to the end when we know how much time we have.
Oh, very good. This standard cost participation agreement with MDOT for the signing of the contract for the bridge projects.
So this is not approving the bridge projects at this time. This is just, if it doesn't get approved, then it's just saying, okay, Carl and Kylie will be our signatories.
I
want to see the resolution real quick.
This is-
Then wait, if you put all can see it as well.
Page 40.
There you go. No?
No, you're gonna go the other way.
Yeah.
It should be bookmarked.
There it is. Okay. Ooh, got moved by some stuff. And this would only be after approval of the contract.
Right. This is just to say who would sign.
Who's going to sign
So I'll make
if it's approved?
I'll make the motion, we adopt resolution 2020-07-08, the authorization sign contract with MDOT, sign contract, MDOT contract number 20-5292, if approved by the board. If the contract is approved by, or the project is approved by the board.
Motion by Andy, supported by Jason, to approve the resolution 2020-07-08. Any further discussion on that?
I want to make sure that it's known that the motion is, that we have to approve the
Contract, the contract
contract before we can, they can sign it.
before we sign it. So, okay, roll call, Kylie.
McKellar,
yes,
Mauser,
Yes.
Gilman,
Yes.
Merritt,
Yes.
and Brown.
Yes. Item E, Resolution 2020-07-09, sale of 2021 rural STP. This is Wayne again.
Yes, so similar to last year, we have some $566,228 of rural STP dollars through our task force. And this would be the first step in getting on the list for selling if we can locate a buyer.
And last year we did not locate a buyer.
Last year, we turned from potential sellers into buyers.
Into buyers. Okay, all right.
And STP stands for,
Surface Transportation Program.
this is what, this is what you guys want.
Be flexible.
This is
Let them do it for
the ideal for us.
We'd rather sell, but if we can't, then maybe we'll come back later. If we can't find somebody to buy it, then maybe we'll buy.
Right.
Okay, so I'll make a motion.
Well,
We
Bill- Bill just did.
Bill made the motion to approve it. We need a second.
Unnecessary, well.
You just, he was quiet. A motion by Bill, supported by Andy, to approve resolution 2020-07-09 and for the sale of 2021 rural STP funds.
This is just, they're gonna have to come back to us with the sales.
If
Just
That is correct. This is strictly looking for a buyer.
This is the first step in the process.
Right.
Perfect.
All right. Any further discussion? Kylie?
Mauser,
Yes.
Gilman,
Yes.
Merritt,
Yes.
McKellar,
yes,
and Brown.
Yes. Okay. Item F, Keystone Cass Road Purchase Roundabout. This is Wayne again. And the notation is section 15.268, subsection B, which would allow us to go into closed session for the determination, for the discussion, of purchase of real property.
If we want to go into closed session, we just need a motion to move into closed session to discuss it.
So moved.
Support for discussion.
Closed session.
Support, I'm.
Oh,
Support for discussion.
there will be discussion after, right, and, okay, I'll give you your opportunity. Okay, all right, just hold on,
Okay, holding on.
Okay. Motion by Bill, seconded by Andy, to go into closed session to discuss the purchase of real property. Now, discussion.
Cliff note version without numbers or anything, where are we at? Are we at the, you've got an offer, you wanna know if we're gonna accept, or are we still in the negotiation
No.
process?
We have an agreement and we have final numbers.
And we would just like to talk about, make sure you guys are happy with the way it's gonna work.
You
and
staff is comfortable
timeframes.
with the numbers?
Well, it doesn't matter if they are or not. They've got, are we gonna go in and discuss it, and then whether they're comfortable with it or not, are we comfortable with it?
That was gonna be,
That's the ultimate.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate.
And so if we go into closed session and we decide that, yes, we are comfortable with it as a board,
Right.
we'll come back out and then we will have an actual vote on it in
discussion and
open
vote.
section.
Or we can take a chance and hear the number and just talk about it out here.
That's kind of what I'm thinking, but I want to kind of get a feel from staff whether or not if there's potential more things that we need to talk about.
How well do you know us?
That's kind of what I'm getting at, you know, because if we don't
Well,
get.
there's
to a closed
nothing,
session,
nothing
I'd rather
to not allow us to have further discussion when we come back out.
And this could be very, very quick. We could get in there, we can just put it in front of you if you're comfortable with it. We'll be back out in just a couple minutes.
You got Mark,
Yes, Mark will have to call
Okay.
my phone,
all right.
which he has, and I will put it on speaker.
Don't text him, it goes into a different place.
So, okay, are we?
I'm good, I'll
Okay,
vote.
so we have motion and support. So,
Need it, yeah.
Gilman,
Yes.
Merritt,
Yes.
McKellar,
yes.
Mauser,
Yes.
and Brown.
yes.
I don't appropriate use.
Well, it is.
This is literally,
This is.
this is probably one of the few
times I really think it's.
What you're supposed to.
we'll see y'all in about 2 minutes.
Maybe 5.
Yeah.
Are we good?
Not quite yet, I don't.
It still says on the screen we're in closed session.
Oh, he's changing that. Well, I guess until we make the motion and vote on it, we officially are still.
Right. Yeah. Can we hear you, Mark?
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay, I move that we come out of closed session.
Support.
Motion and support, roll call, Kylie?
Merrick,
Yes.
McKellar,
Yes.
Mauser,
Yes.
Gilman,
Yes.
and Brown.
Yes. Okay.
All right. And I guess our next step is to make the motion to approve or to authorize the management to exercise the contract for,
Property to be purchased for $375,000 plus $5,186 other dollars in moving expenses and tax differential, with other costs that are incidental to the closing of the property.
or, okay, one.
All right, motion by Jason, supported by Bill for the purchase of the property. Any further discussion? Kylie, roll call?
McKellar,
Yes.
Mauser,
Yes.
Gilman,
Yes.
Merrick,
Yes.
and Brown.
Yes. All right, item G. Budget amendment. Phil, this is
Yeah, so, we last hit our second budget amendment back in April. With everything going on state-wise, thought it'd be good to kind of pull back some of our MTF estimates. Because we are seeing some deductions from registration. I think a lot of it's gonna be delayed, because, the Secretary of State isn't collecting all the registrations, they're delaying payments until October 1st. And so I think some of it'll be timing that we'll see later on this year. And fuel was another big drop. That, as people travel more, that should probably bounce back up some. So I scaled our original MTF estimates back to be a little more in line with what the Department of Treasury released. They were a little more conservative than I was, but we'll just kind of see how the receipts come in for the balance of the year. And
Go ahead.
Okay, the only question I have is, you have, so we've scaled back, by almost $1 million on the state, and then almost, $500,000 from the federal government. What is the other state sources that you plugged in there to make up for the Transit Magic money?
that one was, so Garfield Road Bridge, that was originally programmed to be an 80% Fed, 15% state, 5% local as part of the bridge program. Well, I believe the Fed money's ran out, so the state is paying 95%. So it's gonna be state funds. So I was moving it out of the federal side into the state. And I also updated for the River Road construction costs that recently got bid.
Okay, and those were things that weren't in the original one.
They weren't in the original. Yeah, give me a second here. And the other was the M137 construction funds. We received those in July.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I was gonna do that in my update later. So I picked those up, and those are currently restricted. I have that sitting in a separate account at Michigan Class.
And it should be, because it's obligated funds.
And then in the
specifically
budget
for that
amendment,
project.
I just showed the 760 as construction costs, even though we may or may not get there this year. It doesn't, the 760 doesn't increase our fund balance for spending. So I wanted to pick that up. Other than that, we picked up our estimate on Hammond Road. We still got a bid out, MDOT and our local Hammond Road project this year. So there might be another budget amendment, but
I want to make a point on the M37 money.
Yes.
This is a good way to demonstrate what's going to happen with Center Road too.
Right.
People are concerned that we're not going to take the money that's earmarked for them and use it for them. nothing to be further from the truth. Like you said, we've got the money set in a separate account and the M-Class account, and it's essentially put aside for that purpose.
It has to go there.
Yeah, so, and that's exactly what will happen up Center Road.
And we anticipate doing more than what
Yeah.
the state's providing.
Yeah, right, absolutely, but those funds are restricted for that use only.
Yeah, and then on your July statements, you'll see I'll have it as restricted cash
Right,
for that
a
purpose.
very valid point, Jason, very valid.
Yeah, so Hammond Road, we had some balance of the, millage money left over. We got better estimates in, so I got that programmed in, I think about 1.4 million. Once that bid comes in, hopefully it comes in under, and it's not like the bridge projects, we can update at that time. Then we also look at capital outlay, things that we've already bought, kind of fine tune some line items there. That's pretty much it. I mean, there was a lot going on, and we'll continue to monitor.
Well, I know that, as far as the fuel usage, I mean, driving in the county right now, you can tell that traffic is up substantially.
Well, I see it when I go home.
It's substantially.
I don't think
So-
we're where we were last year, though. I think we got less traffic than in the past, but it's higher than it was 2 months ago.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
But we're not Cherry Festival traffic in
No,
July, and we're
no.
not.
No,
We
but it's,
were just taking a look at some of the numbers compared to last year. And we figure about 16% lower than what we were last year. But
Feels right.
I was guessing
Yeah.
20, but yeah.
But up substantially from a couple months ago.
absolutely, absolutely.
What was our lowest? We were down, what, 50, 60%?
Right around there, about 50, 45 to 50 in there.
Well, not quite 50.
Not quite 50.
Okay,
Interesting, a lot more.
any other, Mark, any comments on the budget amendment?
I don't have any, nope.
Okay, all right,
So we're looking for motion to adopt the budget resolution or budget
budget
amendment.
amendment, yep,
So
number 3.
Support.
Motion by Andy, supported by Jason to approve 2020 budget amendment number 3. And I guess we've had our discussion, so Kylie?
Mauser,
Yes.
Gillen,
Yes.
Merrick,
Yes.
McKellar,
Yes,
and Brown.
Yes. Okay.
Go down to
Discuss
the area
the
where it
policy to
shows
update to add remote participation
Right there.
and voting by
Okay.
board members, and this would be you, Brad.
Yes. Okay, so Carrie and I went through this, and based on board feedback, she has designed for us a policy that allows us to have remote participation at meetings. There are some requirements that have to be met if you're going to be remote participating. You do need to be visible because of the fact that, they need to be able to see reactions and such, so that, you're not being influenced by somebody else. There's also the concern that, you have somebody, talking to you or, doing something else.
Mhm.
So there's also some rules in here as far as notification, that we have to notify people that certain people will be attending remotely. So it's similar to what we're doing now, but she feels that this covers us legally to have this. This allows us to have not only discussion, but actual participation and voting within meetings. So if you've gone through it and read through all of it, some of it's legalese, but the rest of it's pretty straightforward. And it does cover what the board asked for us to produce. And she and I have gone through it a couple of times to make sure everything is covered. And it seems to do everything rather than having to have people sit out meetings. If they can make it and they're not in the state or they're not in town, they can still do it.
Further discussion?
Yes, I don't like number 5. I think that if you're not present at the meeting, you should not be allowed to participate in closed session, because there's too many opportunities for that closed session meeting to be leaked. You can hack the line, someone else be sitting in the room, they can be sitting in a hotel room with really thin walls. I just don't like the idea of someone participating in a closed session meeting without being present. So I would change 5 to not allowed to, members not allowed to participate in closed session. I also think that there should be, for number 9, there should be a 36-hour notification by a commissioner that's not going to attend unless it's due to weather. If you're scheduled to be out of town for work, you're scheduled more than a couple days ahead of time. That gives the opportunity for the staff to notify our post. It's not an 18-hour, that way staff's not rushing at the last minute. And it can be posted properly so that people know that there's going to be, in fact, a Zoom style meeting. Because it's, in here it says you got to post 19 hours, 18 hours.
No, this, now, correct me if I'm wrong here. This is remote participation. And we don't have, do we have to do it over Zoom, or does it just have to be where the people in the attendance can see this person?
Anybody from the public that is interested in seeing the person has to be able to see the person as they are
As,
discussing.
as a part of the regular remote.
If you're
Right,
reading
and
number
no,
9,
just hold on, just let me finish here. So if we're not doing a Zoom meeting and that person is and doing remote, then it's not gonna be over Zoom, it's only gonna be public that's sitting here, is that correct?
We still would have to set up some sort of a Zoom connection. But it could be a private connection between the board and that one
That's my
individual.
question, that's my question.
But I thought, had discussed the fact that we were looking at continuing to Zoom out and broadcast out our meetings, whether we take comments.
We
from the public.
were, but that, my question is, have we addressed that here, I guess? Is that what, so we're gonna be Zoom, so that person would be doing it basically that way, and I guess to Andy's thing, if we're doing Zoom, then that closed session part would become an issue.
And if you're in that, and basically, you could still have 2 separate Zoom meetings going on. You could have the broadcast Zoom meeting that is somehow set up similar to what we have, but you could have a secondary primary or private Zoom meeting between the board and that one commissioner,
Okay.
so that the public can see them. But no matter what, the public, if there's public, you have to allow them to be able to see
the open meeting.
the people that are in the
The
meeting.
people in the right meeting, that makes sense.
Right.
As far as number 5 is concerned, I agree and I understand the sentiment. As far as, especially if we're gonna, if it's with video, there's a little more protection. If it's just, on the phone, is
Right.
we did, it would be more problematic. At the same time, of your concern is, we all go in there, we talk, we give back the documents that we are not to carry out of the room. But we are also responsible for not blabbermouthing what goes on behind the door anyway.
Right.
And who's to say that that isn't gonna go on if there's somebody who's untrustworthy anyhow? And I mean, I guess I have less of a concern with number 5 because, well, if somebody's, a talker, a sleep talker or whatever, they're a sleep talker, So I really, I think it's fine as it is.
My issue is more, not so much a commissioner sitting at home, but I've been in some hotel rooms where someone drops a piece of Kleenex and you hear it through the walls. And this is set up not for someone who doesn't want to drive into the meeting, but for someone who's going to be out of town for work, which means they're probably going to be in a hotel or in some other space that may not be as able to be secured as your own private residence would be. And the reason we're closed session is that we're having a discussion where the public is not hearing that. And I have concerns that if you're out on the road, that something may be heard that shouldn't be heard through the walls. And that's why I have an issue with number 5. And we're allowing them to participate in everything else but that closed session.
Well, but to your point, if you're out of town in that, the likelihood of somebody in the room next to you knowing what you're even talking about would be minuscule. because they would
It's
not.
a small, I understand it's a very small concern I have, but it's still a concern that
What's
I
that, Bill?
Stay in a better hotel.
You know, I don't see it, I don't see 5 to be a big deal, because even if they are out of town, you're gonna be so far out of town that the likelihood of somebody next door to you knowing what you're even talking about, even if they did hear you, would be, I would find it difficult to believe that the odds would be so astronomical that.
What was the other thing you had?
The other thing is the notification, because it says at number 9 that the agenda with such information will be posted made available to the public at least 18 hours before the meeting. I want the commissioners to have to get 36 hours notice if they're going to be attending remotely. That way, they will be properly noticed, unless it's storm related. Because one of the reasons why I'm going to do remotely is for storms. You know, if there's a bad weather storm comes through, we need to do an emergency meeting that we have to meet right away, that would be something, an exception. But I think we should be responsible enough as commissioners to be able to give proper notification that we're not going to be able to make it.
The 18-hour is the minimum for us to post.
Right, that's when we have to have it posted.
That's where that number came from.
Right, so if I call in at 18 and a half hours out,
They
they
could,
may not be able to get that posted in time because there may be other things happening in the office.
well, that's possible, yes, but the 18 is the minimum for posting,
For us to be posted.
for us to be.
And
Right.
I guess at this point, what I would say with that is, you know, if that's the case, yes, you should be calling long enough in advance
Right.
to give office staff the time to properly post and deal with it. Or there is a possibility if you can't get through, or you can't get it, you can't participate.
Right,
So
right.
that kind of falls to your personal
It's-
responsibility of saying, you know, you should be calling.
You call in too late, then you're too late.
But those of us sitting here right now understand that.
Right.
Future boards
Well,
may not, and that's why I
Well,
want that
they'll
36
have to
hours.
read and follow the rules.
That's
They
why we
call
put
it
the 36 hours,
too
I
late.
think would take care of any possible issues later where there would be not compliance with the Open Meetings Act. If we could do that, I'd be
I mean,
okay.
yeah, would it
If
would
we
it be
put
too
the
much
30
to add a line that says the commissioners who will be absent should give enough time, should allow, or should notify,
Right.
so
I
that
want
the,
36 hours
so that-
unless weather related. And I will waive on 5. I'll agree with 5 days.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to comment.
Go ahead, Mark. Go ahead.
Clearly, some of the commissioners don't travel professionally for business. And they've never been in an airport where there's been a storm or other issues. And I don't know what hotel rooms they're staying in, but I can assure you the ones that I stay in, people are not listening to my conversation next door. So I think most of this is unfounded. You know, many of us travel. To think that you're not going to know, you have to know 36 hours before that you may not be able to make that meeting is unreasonable. When you're traveling for business, a lot of things can happen. And if you can participate and you give notice within 18 hours so it can be lawfully posted, you should be allowed to participate. Secondly, I strongly believe that commissioners should be allowed to go into a closed session where tonight we practiced that and that worked flawlessly. So I think these are unfounded, and I'm speaking from experience for my travel. I don't think we need to continue to go round and round about it, but everybody gets to have their opinion.
Well, effectively, if you're looking at a 7 o'clock meeting, it means you would have to notify us 2 days before the meeting by close of business. Because if you're 7 o'clock start, you know, you've got to, you know, we got to have time to get that posted, you know.
Right.
So you've got to have it posted, you know, that next day. I mean, if you said something, you know, the day before, we need to know because it's got to have 18 hours. So
Right. So
we don't want to be doing it 7 o'clock in the morning of,
so you're basically 2 days ahead.
I mean, yeah, or it's got to be there the day before so that we can get it posted right that first thing in the morning.
Right.
Because, I mean, there are things that delay us.
But on the other hand, given what Mark was talking about, I mean, do we want to exclude participation by somebody who may be rushing home and then, as he says, gets stuck in an airport?
Can't make it.
Can't make it and
Would
those,
those be weather related or just air? I think that there needs to be some, I'm sorry, I interrupted.
no, that's okay. I get where you're coming from and I see, to me, it's not, I don't think it really violates any kind of spirit of transparency or anything if we're pretty flexible on this and allowing them. We just have to have a policy that says that if they're not gonna be there, their face should be on the screen for the public. I mean, so. Timing, I mean, are we violating anything timing?
She said we have to have it posted that
18
somebody
hours.
will be attending remotely 18 hours. So
So
that
we
means,
have no choice in that.
That,
we don't.
so that means effectively, 12 hours puts you at 7 o'clock in the morning
Yeah.
when we open.
Right,
You're sometime in the middle of the night. The day before, we need to know.
right.
that's a good point.
And like any board rule, if a future board wants to waive 24, they can, but I would think, most people who are gonna be out of town for business could say, I may not make it. I wanna be available for Zoom because I'm gonna be flying in last minute.
You're still gonna be basically 24 hours a day.
But-
when you get a phone.
Yeah, because we're gonna need basically, I guess what I'm saying, we're gonna need more than 24. Because 24 hours before, we're gone.
Yeah,
18 hours is too late because we aren't gonna be here
Right.
18 hours before.
Right.
So it's gotta be that day before.
It's gotta be the day before the meeting. And.
It can't be on the day because we're not gonna have
Because
enough time.
well, you're done. then.
this also brings up another point. And it's something that I think some of the commissioners might be sensitive to, is if we are advertising well ahead of time that somebody's not going to be available at a meeting, does that also tell the public that they're not home?
Yeah. and we should-
I'm just,
No, we've had-
throwing that out there.
We've had that discussion, Mark had that discussion when he first came on, that you really shouldn't be doing that. Because it does tell people, in this day and age, that
Could
somebody.
we not post a disclaimer to satisfy that there may be some commissioners participating remotely, and it doesn't say who? I mean, honestly.
You don't have to say which commissioner.
Right, right.
But you could say, yes, a commissioner or commissioners may be participating remotely.
And that's how it should be worded, not the specific name, to Jason's point, I agree.
So,
All 5 of us are gonna be burglarized.
Yeah. Well, that's okay, I'm ready.
would your suggestion be to make sure that we comply with the Open Meetings Act, at least have on every agenda, it says that commissioners may be present through remote access or something like that, along that lines?
I think that would satisfy, it seems to me that would.
I would have to talk to Carrie to confirm, but it seems like it would. I don't know. I would have to talk to her to make sure that, a general statement that says commissioners may attend remotely.
And does it say anything here about commissioners should make all attempts to attend in person? I'm not talking about our board,
Well, that's.
but there's
that's-
possibly 2 of us who aren't gonna be here next year who may have someone else in the seats who may
Right,
go,
but that-
I don't even need to attend the meetings. I
When
need.
you took this, when you took that position, if at all possible, you're supposed to be there, yes.
We understand that.
Well, anybody that takes that position, if you're taking that position to fill one of these seats, the obligation is there. So I would certainly think that you would understand that. That's kind of a.
I'd like to think that
Hey,
too, but it doesn't always.
Could we bring this back then with those questions answered though? I mean,
Certainly.
would that be okay?
Or,
Yeah.
we could pass it and then
You can always modify.
find out
it.
if we need to change that section.
I
It's up to
have no
you guys.
problem with that either. I have no problem with that either,
Well,
because then
Those questions go back out and it can come right back up on next month.
So on,
Because if she says it's fine, then you don't have to do anything. If she says it needs to be specific, then we have to change.
on our board.
Either
rules,
way.
We have how the agenda is set up, right?
Mhm.
That's part of so we'd have to adjust that part to include the notification of potential
I just think that in the packet, each time, like, at the beginning of the agenda, there, basically a disclaimer that some commissioners may be participating remotely in this meeting.
But would that be part of the setup of the agenda that's set up in the board rules or not? I just want to make sure if we get,
Maybe so, I mean, I don't see a problem with.
I'm not saying there's a problem with it, I just want to make sure that if we can get this all done once. And not have to come back. And
We
change
can bring it back next month too. I can get it from Carrie, we can make a clarification, and then we can bring it back next month. That's assuming, I don't know when the exact date of this order currently expires, where you can still have.
August
Count on it
15th.
until November.
I would say so.
So, I mean, at that point, then we still have the authority supposedly under this to say, okay, we're gonna have them. And then at this point, it doesn't matter, we wait another month or not.
I'd like to comment.
Go ahead, Mark.
Number 9, if you read it, it directly says name of the commissioner. So the question to Carrie is, does it need to say name of the commissioner? And if it doesn't, then Jason's comment that it could be put at the beginning of the agenda that commissioners may be attending remotely would suffice. The other is under at least 18 hours could say at least 18 business hours. That addresses Brad's issue that, 18 hours, but we're not here in the office to post it. So I think the minimum is 18 hours according to the statute. But for our purposes, as long as we aren't going more liberal than the statute, we could go back away from the statute and say at least 18 business hours. And I think that does address the issue. Okay? But that really now, if you say 18 business hours, that puts it out. 18 business hours puts it out 2.5 days almost.
Well, no, it'd be, because you have.
16 hours, 2 days is 16 hours.
I like 18 business hours, Mark, thanks. That's longer than I said.
So if you go 2 business days, that's
2 days.
16 hours.
Yeah.
Yep, that's 2 days, and then
Open
2 more hours.
Right.
And I can tell you right now, there are times where there's no way that a commissioner is absolutely going to know 2 days and 2 business hours before the meeting if they actually are going to not be there or not. It can happen.
But
I mean, you could be in Florida and you're canceled. You could be out west, you're canceled. There could be a lot of issues. So you could address it by saying at least 18 business hours. But you see, if you do that, see the problem? Now it's 2 days, 2 business days, and 2 additional hours.
no, for us, Mark, for us, they're 9-hour days. Our office is open for 9 hours every day, so that would be 2 exact days.
2 days.
So that would
All right.
put you the 3rd day.
Yep. But that still puts
Before 7:30, which would mean you leave a message and we would get it.
Right.
so this
I'm
for
comfortable with that.
today's meeting, for the purposes of today's meeting, that you guys would have to be notified by Tuesday, just before close of business, for that to be,
Right. Right.
that's a big stretch.
I think an important question for Carrie is, do we have to name the commissioner, or can we just say on the agenda, the commissioners may not be,
I think the reason why she does that is because she didn't want us to have to put the ways that people can be contacted. Because you have to, every commissioner has to be able to be contacted by their constituents before a meeting starts. So the idea behind that was so that we didn't have to say, okay, this is your cell phone number, this is your home
I don't
number.
have a problem with my cell phone number being on our website.
Good night.
They can
Wait,
email us.
what does it have to do with us being, I mean,
Because-
because emails, I mean.
Right, okay, because, yeah, so I mean, you know, they have to have a way to make contact with you before the meeting starts, if they have concerns about something on the agenda.
They could do that no matter what, no matter where you're gonna be at. I would assume that anybody traveling has their email.
But I'm saying then we would have to put it on the agenda each time that says, okay, if you have, these are the commissioners, this is the way to contact.
Oh,
Because otherwise, you're not telling them who the commissioners are that they need to make contact with.
I'm still missing why it matters. Honestly, I mean, you know, I mean, because
Here,
you're,
you gotta read number 9, it'll make it. It says that the commissioner attending a meeting remotely, the clerk of the road commission shall include on the agenda meeting the name of the commissioner will be attending remotely as well as the method that the public. will
yeah,
utilize
I would
to
say
contact
take
the
number 9
commissioner.
off. I'm not a fan of number 9 anyway. I think number 9 is highly restrictive. And again, you know, to the point that I made, I think that if we put a disclaimer, look, we may have somebody who is attending remotely.
Well, I know she's gonna tell you it has to be there to attend and vote. Because that's one of them that was added so that they could vote.
And is that so that they, if I
So
had
that-
an issue as a constituent, I wanted to talk to you, and you weren't, I was gonna come to the meeting to talk to you, you weren't here.
But
could call you
I
at
guess
that
my
time.
point is this, whether you're attending remotely or whether you're attending in person, those constituents, if they want to talk to you, they're going to talk to you no matter what. It doesn't matter whether you're attending remotely or, I just don't understand how that rings in there. What, and it's not.
I-
the way people-
Absolutely. agree. I agree with Jason's statement that just because you're remote or you're not in attendance to the meeting does not preclude anybody from contacting you by your mobile phone or by email. One has nothing to do with the other.
And
Nobody's
frankly,
ever come and rang my doorbell.
yeah, no, right, exactly. And even though I'm in the book, and if they couldn't get a hold of me, they could certainly get a hold of the road commission and say, could you have Jason call me? And you're always able to reach us by phone any time of the day or night. So, you know, I think number 9 is overkill. This is not ready for prime time, Mike. And
Okay.
this is,
But then we're gonna have, I'll have to talk more and with
Okay.
Terry about that. Because that was one that she added to make sure that the person that was participating could vote.
Are we gonna want Carrie here for the meeting so we can ask her questions specifically?
Are we good with everything but number 9? That's my question.
I'm fine with everything but number 9. I just, you know,
I think number 9 adds some mud to what you want to do to, can we just put on the agenda that we're not, a commissioner may be
to me,
missing?
that
And by that eliminates the 18-hour requirement, which then removes my or Mark or whoever timeframe for reporting, that there's plenty of time.
I mean, the
And you
public
need-
has an expectation that sometimes things happen, you know, and what we're trying to do is account for things happening while we're getting, like, COVID, there's weather events, whatever. But I think if they're always notified, look, there might be somebody who's not here, so what? You know, I mean, obviously, if the requirements that were on video are still there, okay, then they're still seeing us in person, which is important. Because absolutely facial things, you know,
It matters.
it does matter. And with the Zoom, with this technology, this is incredible stuff, frankly.
Okay, so we can put this to bed for tonight, I guess. Everybody is good with everything through number 8, but not number 9.
I still,
Carl, I just want to go on record that I only was suggesting that if we were to do 18 business hours, that would put us over 2 days out for notification, which is excessive. So I'm
Right.
not in favor of 18 business hours. Every one of our statutes say, 18, 24, 36 hours notice. And it literally does not say business hours. And I do not want to split hairs. So I'm good with 18 hours, just like it is. Or we strike the whole number 9.
So that's where,
Right, I think number 9 needs to be addressed on how we can change number 9 entirely.
Okay.
So I think 1 through 8, I think I think everybody can live with one through it. Andy keeps shaking his head.
Maybe
But, well, at this point, the consensus is at least probably four that says that can slide, but we can have further discussion. I would not limit you on that. So let's see what we can do with number 9 with Gary, and you can bring it back to us next month.
So would a possible solution on it be putting our contact information on the website other than just email? And how many people are on top of that? I wouldn't have an issue.
Well, people have been emailing me off the website a lot lately.
But a phone call, if they get, I don't have one on my cell phone and not on
I'm
there.
in the phone book, been in the phone book for 30-some years.
I'm not a cell.
But if they contact the office puts that rate, we'll share that number with us, and we'll get right with them. So, go ahead, Mark.
I think email is just fine.
Okay. Okay.
I'll make a motion, we table this until next month.
Well, it just come back up on the
Okay.
agenda because nobody voted on anything, so.
Otherwise, I'll motion.
Yep. So, okay. All right. And Brad will take care of that for us.
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
Clear as mud. Item I, MDOT bid contract 2800-133068-2, River Road Bridge is SNs 3060 and 3061, and Garfield Road Bridge SN 3069 over the Boardman River. The staff is recommending the lowest bidder be awarded the contract, and Brad is going to explain to us why, I guess it's Brad, why we should do that.
I'm gonna let Wayne start. How's
Okay.
that?
That
Well,
would-
I'm writing notes here.
That would be perfect.
How to get everything else down.
I generated a memo to provide some background history. If you don't have that, I'll give you the version here. Structure numbers 3060 and 3061, the River Road Bridges over the Boardman River, received a grant for those two structures under a preventative maintenance program in late 2016 for the fiscal year 2019. That work included deck rehabbing, including hydro demolition and of the existing top 3 inches of concrete decks, new joints, new 6-inch waterproof deck, concrete deck, and upgrading guardrail and bridge rail, along with some paved approaches. The design contract was executed in August of 17. In September of 18, we did a change of scope when we did a much closer look at the structures, and we requested of MDOT, due to the extensive deterioration of the decks, to have to be changed over to a superstructure replacement, and they agreed, and the state and federal funds were capped at the maximum 20% over the grant award. So that meant the maximum would be capped at $990,660 for the 2 River Road bridges. We did do a design change at the end of 19 from the traditional side-by-side pre-stressed concrete beams to go with longer lasting, less maintenance, and lighter galvanized steel tub girders. This estimated an additional 10% cost factored with the additional additional service life of 20 plus years and higher load capacities due to the lighter dead loads on the abutments. We went to and put out for bids last January. We only had 2 bidders at that time, and the low bid was at 31.1% over. Those bids were rejected due to the poor contractor interest with only having the 2 and potential constructability issues. Plans were reevaluated and enhanced for the constructability. As structure number 3069, Garfield Road over the Boardman River, those plans were very near completion, and work was very similar. This is a bridge deck removal with steel beam repair, cleaning, and coating. So it was determined that this would be most economical to package these 3 structures together into one contract, and that was in the July 2020 letting. This was bid item number 38. We did have 4 bidders on this. The confirmed low bidder, Davis Construction, bid at $2.7 million, a little bit over that. This was 34.3% over the estimated 2.175, basically 176. 24.3% over, yes, for those 3 structures. To break this down between the 2 job numbers and the funding, the River Road bridges, those came in at 29% over the engineer's estimate. That largest overage is, that creates a local share increase from what we had anticipated with the estimate of $402,000, and jumped it up to 813, just shy of 813,000. So roughly some 411,000 additional dollars. That state and federal funding is still capped at that 990,660. Overages are mainly accounted for in the prefabricated galvanized sub-steel girder superstructure. We do have additional high bid items that include minor traffic devices, bridge deck removal, substructure concrete and associated form and finishing and curing, as well as the hot mix asphalt due to the small quantities and the multiple sites. The second bid, the bid prices on the second letting for the River Road bridges and the first letting have been reviewed and compared, and it's noted that the second bid did yield lower costs in acknowledgement of the plan enhancements between the bids. Garfield Road Bridge, structure number 3069, is 16% over. That increases the local share from $38,700 to $45,059. Overages here are mainly accounted for in the bridge deck removal. We do have additional high bid items for minor traffic devices, superstructure concrete, and associated form finishing and night curing, and again, hot mix asphalt due to the small quantities. Now, this structure is to remain open to traffic, and the part with construction and signalized traffic control due to this very high traffic count, and is the only major route available in that area. So the part with construction will require several mobilizations and demobes and traffic control during that part with phasing. The contract is an open to traffic and final completion date of October 1 and October 30th, respectively, of 2021. And this allows for the flexibility for fall work in 2020 and additional spring and summer work in 2021. So after careful evaluation and review of the bids, both lettings and consideration of the local bridge program competitive grant and award process, the additional lifespan expectancy, low carrying ability, and lower life cycle maintenance costs, it is recommended that the low bidder Davis Construction be accepted.
So our big hit is that 400,000 more because we're using the longer term materials.
Correct.
What was the extended life period? We're looking at how much longer on that life?
We're looking at a minimum 20 years.
20 years additional.
Difference.
20 years additional.
Okay.
Yes, we're looking at
We're getting this much.
we're looking at bare
But
minimum.
we're looking at the life of the bridge.
Right.
And it is dropping our cost of ownership drastically,
Per year.
per year, when you look at that. And as he said, it's also lighter. You know, we've got the potential for longer, heavier weight limits on these bridges into the future. So, you know, you're not worried as much about the weight on that superstructure that's there now. Phil and I have gone through the numbers, and we have comfort in the fact that, yes, we still will be hitting or very close to the recommended end of year fund balance with this project still included, so we feel we can afford it. One of the things that wasn't mentioned is the fact that if we don't accept it, it could be a long time before we can, and one of the bridges you said could very realistically be reduced load, correct?
Yeah, Garfield is already been reduced load. And that would continue to deteriorate. The River Road bridges would, next time for inspection, those would be reduced due to their condition.
And that funding, if we opted to, if we opt to not do this, then we gotta get back in line to get funding. And I think it's been about 3-4 years to get it.
You're at a 3-year process once it's approved.
Once it's approved. So you're basically at least at a minimum of 4 years if we opt out, so.
Right. And so at that point, you've got reduced loads on probably 3 bridges for at least 2.5 years of that.
It's 1.8 million in grant money.
1.8 in grant money. That we would walk away from and then try and get back in line to get. So it's, that's an absolutely valid point, Bill.
Now, my understanding is too that we have seen some positive bid results in the tune of about 300,000. Is that correct? On other projects?
Well, we're down below currently on what we expected to spend between different projects that are out there.
So we're a little ahead of the game on some others.
Yes.
We're going to be behind the 8 ball on this one. So you win a little, you lose a little more.
Yeah, like the roof was a drastic savings. You know, we've had some other things come in under, we've been able to shave amounts off of other areas. So we feel very comfortable. We went through line by line of the budget, trying to figure out where do we stand. Like I say, you know, we're gonna end up still right near that or very close, give or take, to the recommended fund balance that you've given us, even with the hit that we're expecting from Michigan Transportation Funds.
Mr. Chair,
It's been bid twice.
Chair, I make a motion that accepts the bid. Can you hear me?
Yeah, just hold on, just 1 second, Mark. Go ahead, Bill.
Yep.
Well, I'm just gonna say that's why they call them estimates, not sure things.
Okay. Okay, Mark, you go ahead and make your motion.
All right, I make a motion that we accept the bid from Davis Construction for MDOT bid contract 28000-133068.
I'll support it.
Okay. We have a motion made by Mark, supported by Bill to accept the contract 2800-133-068-2 River Road Bridges on River Road and Garfield. I guess okay, go ahead. Bill.
Yes, sir. I'm nervous. MTS going down, project costs are a little higher. You went through it. I haven't heard you say it. Where are we
I
at?
kind of covered it in the budget amendment. So
That
I
was-
went through and updated everything, and, you know, last year we did have some excess funds and other activities that increased fund balance over the target. We were gonna try to build that fund balance up a little bit more, just to have a better rainy day with local match on, you know, future projects, whatever.
Right.
But we're still sitting, you know, healthy as it is right now. We're gonna continue to watch the MTF to make sure that they do come back, but I try to be a little conservative on the revenue side and pulling that down, and
So if we get closer to the end and we're running out of money because the MTF comes in worse than what you estimated, do we have projects sitting out there we can yank
yeah,
yet
we defer.
or defer? Maybe yank isn't the right word. We can push off until the next budget year.
Yeah,
And there's still stuff that we can stop and we're not gonna spend money on, as I guess my question.
there's still some capital outlay stuff that probably can be deferred, and possibly some projects, I don't know, by that time. Most everything probably be completed by then.
But you're comfortable that there's the cushion and.
Yeah, we have enough for winter maintenance.
I
So
suspected that, but I wanted to
aside.
hear it for myself so that I knew from you, the budget guy, who looked at the
And
numbers.
it'll make it harder for next year's, you know, budget for sure, but we're comfortable with the load of work we have right now.
Okay.
Now, Hammond Road, who knows where that can come in, but we'll address that in the open bids.
That and company vehicles can be turned into mopeds.
All right.
Smart cars. I want to see Wayne in a smart car with that big device on top for picking up.
Well, that extra longevity costs us about 20 grand a year. That's pretty cheap. Over 20 years. So that's pretty cheap to, you know.
I know it's the right thing to do, but I wanted to hear, so give me just a little more comfort. I'm not
Okay.
stepping on it at ledge too much.
You all set?
I'm good now.
Okay, Kylie?
Gilman,
Yes.
Merrick,
Yes.
McKellar,
Yes.
Mauser,
Yes.
Ryan.
Yes.
And thank you, Wayne, for your diligence, you staff in particular, for your diligence this early in the year, basically. And yeah, that isn't gonna work.
Okay, item J, resolution 2020-07-10, authorization to sign contract with MDOT. And this is for Hammond Road monies, is that correct?
This is basically the same thing you guys passed at the beginning, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Correct.
We're just asking for authorization of who's going to sign the contract when you guys approve the contract. We can't sign it till it's approved, but if and when it is approved, then we need to have this resolution, because I'm that money that says that both Carl and Kylie will be signing this contract also.
It's all a matter of timing.
Mhm.
The Hammond Road project is in the August levy, so those bids will be coming in and you'll have those.
Okay, so the same as the one we did earlier, it's not going to get signed until the contract's approved,
Right.
but it authorizes people to sign.
Right.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2020-07-10. Authorization signing contract for MDOT for the Hammond Road monies on approval from the board.
Support.
That's
Okay.
okay, Mark.
Motion by Andy, supported by Mark to approve resolution 2020-07-10, authorization to sign MDOT contract for Hammond Road. I guess we've all had discussion on it. Kylie?
Merrick,
Yes.
McKellar,
Yes.
Mauser,
Yes.
Gilman,
Yes.
Yes. Item K. Brown.
Okay. This one I have to apologize for, but not on our behalf, on others, but they just got this to us, final version or quasi-final version today. Carrie has asked that the motion be read exactly as is, because it covers the fact that we, being she and I, will make minor changes when the final version comes out. That will be basically clarifying the exact payoff schedule, but it will not affect the maximum of what we have. It basically could shorten our payoff schedule, is what it comes down to.
This is for
This is for Stadium and Runny School. They did sell apparently another lot there, and so our payoff on this is going to be accelerated from what it originally was. And the biggest change on the agreement from last time we had looked at it is the fact that now Blair Township and the Road Commission are getting paid off at the exact same rate, so that we will both be finalized on the same date of payment. Originally, they had Blair Township being paid off first and then us, but being both governmental, we made sure that it's being paid off at the same rate. So they have 28%, 21, and then we have like the 78% that will get paid for each tax collection once it reaches the governmental payback level. Yeah, and we did get the cap put in, so there's no way they can go over what we originally agreed to.
I'll make a motion to authorize the chair and clerk to execute the Grand Traverse County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority Development and Reimbursement Agreement with Blair Township, HM Development LLC, and the Grand Traverse County Brownfield Development Authority for the Rennie School Road Expansion and Stadium Drive Extension, subject to and contingent upon approval as to substance by the manager and form by general counsel. Jason will second.
Okay, I will.
Motion by Andy, seconded by Bill, to accept the Brownfield agreement. I'm not gonna read the whole thing again.
Right. Executive written.
I am not gonna read the whole thing. And this is part one. We got another one here then?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, this is part one of that. Mark, any discussion?
I'm good.
The contract that we were presented looks good. Okay, I mean, I don't have a problem with the contract. I actually don't have a problem with the spirit of getting that connection to Rennie, particularly given for the traffic patterns, now that there's a light at Rennie, and I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Having said that, I'm not a happy camper when it comes to the use of tax capture, and I just can't get over that for myself primarily, so I will be a no vote.
And I accept your opinion. I understand.
You're consistent.
I can't disagree. I can't disagree with that. So, any further?
I would have liked to see you second it though.
Kylie?
McKellar,
Yes.
Mauser,
Yes.
Gilman,
No,
Merrick,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Just for you, I do.
Okay.
Now,
Go
the
ahead.
second one is for the actual agreement that applies to how the road is constructed and the standards that they're going to meet our acceptance. The first is about the payback and how the project is set up. The second one is for the actual building of the road, which is contracted through the developer, and we are basically chipping in money to pay for our portion. So again, this is all part of the same thing. There's two separate agreements to make the whole thing complete and ready to go.
Are we gonna be doing inspections on the road that they're building before it's turned over to us? Or how does that work to make sure that it's to our specs?
So we'll treat this as we would with a subdivision, construction project. They will have a PE, that will be, responsible for overseeing the project, a professional engineer. They will have inspection forms, they'll have density tests, they will have all of those. We will receive a copy of all of those. That PE will sign and certify the forms and that the project's built for standards and submit that. We have the ability and we have the right to do spot inspections as well.
I did read through there on the bonding issue too. I see we have that. I'm not an attorney, but I think we have that covered. So what I could see on the bonding side of it, we've got ourselves covered. So.
Again, this is another one that needs to be read as indicated by our.
I'll make a motion to authorize the chair and clerk to execute the road development agreement with Blair Township and HM Development LLC for the Rennie School Road expansion and Stadium Drive extension, subject to and contingent upon approval as to substance by the manager and form by general counsel.
Or.
Thank you, Bill.
I just sound so painful.
Motion by Andy, supported by Bill to accept the agreement.
I sympathize with Jason's sentiments because the whole thing was kind of one of those things that we seem to get stuck with. And if we don't do it, we're the bad guy, even though it's something that we didn't formulate or do. I mean, but we can't walk away.
Any further?
And just to, I'll be voting yes. Because it's, I mean, you know, for me, I think that the spirit, the spirit and the intent of providing a safe, you know, safe access,
Right.
frankly, it makes sense to connect to Ready Road.
And that's this part of it.
That's this part.
That's this part.
The background and the way it happened,
Yep.
And the step to get there. That, right,
how it was put upon us.
right, yes. So,
And
Anything?
I just want to add that I think this is a great thing, great partnership between private, public, government and township to get a project done. You know, we talk a lot about
Sorry.
partnering with subdivisions and with citizens and with townships, and this is a great way to do that. I do agree that how we were put into it may have been a little sketchy.
Mark, anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay, let's do a roll call.
Hauser,
Oh, yes.
Gilman,
I was
Yes.
thinking.
Merrick,
Yes.
McKellar,
Yes,
Rowe.
Yes. Okay. Item number 7, continued discussion of the Kingsley facility.
Carl, Wayne, and I attended virtually the Paradise Township meeting this 2 weeks ago now.
Oh, 2 weeks ago.
And they expressed some pretty good support of us moving out and taking the land that we need to put the road commission new garage in Kingsley on their property. There are some steps we still need to go through. They still have to actually formally approve it. Once they approve it, we need to get some information together and present it to the state of Michigan, because the state of Michigan gave that property to the township with the caveat on it that it be used for parks or schools type issues. So they allowed Paradise Township to put their building on it. And because of the nature of the way the road coming in and the road leaving this facility will work, we will be able to put a second access in to the school's property behind us. So technically, we are helping out the schools, and we have a multi-jurisdictional partnership here because it's beneficial for the township to have us right there in case they ever have need that they can't get snow removed. If there's anybody who can remove snow, it's us. In addition, the schools have a second route out, and that allows them to bring their buses out to 113 instead of going through the village of Kingsley. So you then have a much better way to deal with the buses leaving that school property. And so overall, I think we had another meeting then with the supervisor, and we have a couple of questions that we still need to answer for him, and I'm pulling those together now. He wants to make sure that we aren't doing any significant repair to vehicles there that could potentially contaminate the soil. And we've got that. Dan is putting some information together for me on that right now. They do understand that we're going to have an above ground diesel storage tank there. And they said that, you know, because of the requirements that exist to do that, we're pretty much, you know, it's safe.
It's all new build.
Yeah, they're gonna be, you know, it's protected. So, and it's all contained. So realistically, the only thing that we know right now that we're gonna have to add is we're gonna have that fluid that comes in totes. We're gonna have, you know, some potential for hydraulic fluid down there. And the only major issue that would be taken care of down there is if a hydraulic line breaks on a vehicle, rather than have to have the vehicle towed all the way up here, we would just drop it there and have our guys go out there. So they'd be able to fabricate the hoses while they're there and get that truck back on the road. The other thing is they'll be replacing blades and like wiper blades and plow blades, you know. Nothing major will happen there. It's mainly a storage building for us. And it gives us the land that we need, not only for our sand and salt storage, but it also gives us a lot of extra space that we can store different types of aggregate, especially if we're going to start producing our own sand, as we did this year, and we are finding, you know, more and more cost-effective ways to produce that sand. We now have a place to put some of it for a couple of years of storage there. And then the aggregate that comes from making that sand, some of it can be stored there also for when we have projects on that side of town.
And one of the other features of this piece is water, sewer, gas being right there. So that's a real good plus. So, you know, if in fact Paradise Township, you know, approves for us to move on and the state does, I think it's, you know, I think it's good for everybody. So hopefully, like I said, we're still in the pretty much preliminary stages of talking, but I think their board, I believe, is receptive for the most part. And I think once we clear these questions up, because it is not a repair facility out there, it would be very minor type stuff. So I think maybe that might have been one of their concerns, but actual use is not going to vary from what we've been doing where we're at.
Right.
You know, so.
The only other clarification was, being that winter time is our busy time of year out there, everybody has their windows closed. So the fact that we're out there loading sand and salt in the winter is not as much of an issue. We don't do much out there during the summer when people have their windows open. We just are not out there that often. So,
and with the tree cover there, I really, any noise would be so minimal that, I don't know if the people the nearest people could barely hear it, I think. Anybody got any questions or anything? No? So we will be participating again.
yes.
This next month with Paradise Township, because they indicated it would probably be another closed meeting, or Zoom meeting. So Brad and Wayne and myself at least would be able to talk to them if they have any questions.
All right.
Okay, it's manager's comments.
I got a few.
Okay,
We'll keep them brief.
okay,
I was on Ron Valley on Wednesday. We did discuss some high water issues, the east-west corridor. Started talking a little bit about the millage and the road repair projects that we have going on and how all of our different road projects are funded. And he invited me back because we did not have enough time in 1 hour to discuss everything that he felt the citizens needed to be informed about. So we would do it sometime probably in late October. He said he'd squeeze me back in for another hour. So I thought, you know, that was going to be a good thing. So it turned out pretty well. But then, of course, Wayne had to upstage me and get to go and sit and listen to the president talk. And so, you know, being on Ron Valley Decision is quite impressive now, I guess.
He was on camera. I did see you.
So,
Declare.
so yes, Wayne had a good trip there to DC to hear about some potential deregulations and modifications of regulations to help get projects moving instead of the massive delays that we currently go through. As I said, we have 2 new employees. Jay Saksowski, he came in, he hit the ground running, he's flying ready. Not had a lot of experience with roads yet, but he has definitely got a lot of the things that we need to have. He's going to be working towards getting improved employee relations between us in the front and the back. He's working on some safety, some training efficiencies, and he's going to help us do some better analysis of where road commission field staff is cost effective and where contractors are cost effective. He's had a pretty diverse background compared to what we have here. Otherwise, he was, and I'll let him say a couple of things here real quick, give you a couple of seconds. Where your career started in.
Yeah, so started career-wise in automotive, material planning and logistics with Ford Motor Company. Did a lot of work in heavy truck and military mining equipment manufacturing from American Axle, TRW. Jumped industries a little bit, went to consumer goods with Bissell Home Care. Started off in quality assurance, progressed through operations, procurement, eventually with global operations. Went back into manufacturing in a leadership role for a brief period, and then went way out into left field, opened up an art gallery just south of Suttons Bay about 3 years ago. And then I joined the Road Commission. So yeah,
and
looking forward to.
Yeah, he's definitely got a lot of the personnel issues, plus the working towards the efficiencies, where our field staff is very good at what they do. Rick and Todd are good supervisors. He's the one that's going to help push us moving forward into being more efficient. So our information technologies manager, Larry, he has been a Traverse City person his entire life. Went to high school here. He worked for the city of Traverse City. He worked for Traverse City Light and Power. Went back to the city of Traverse City, and most recently he worked for OHM out of their Petoskey office, dealing with a lot of the GIS and their CMMS, or computerized maintenance management systems, which is what we're looking to do here, so that we can track and show on a map where we're doing all of our work, where we're getting calls continuously, and we're going out for pothole patching routinely, and really bringing us into a GIS-based system so that everything we do is accessible. It's going to make it much easier for the commissioners to get into the granular detail if they're interested of where does this road sit in comparison to the rest of them, as well as working towards our customer service improvement so that the customer can see this, and also tracking their request. And we are looking at the C-Click Fix application. We have had a demo now with myself, Jay, and Larry on Tuesday of last week. And I think we were all pleasantly surprised with some of the things. It's definitely something that will be very beneficial for easing some of the phone calls that come through the front desk, because people can just log onto their phone, send in a request, and the system takes care of it, automatically forwards it to whoever has to deal with it. And then when it's closed out as a work order, it sends them an email and it says your work order's been dealt with, and it tells them exactly what we did. Because whatever comments we put in there get sent in their emails. A form email says, hey, this is where it is. So we're looking to get that in place sooner than the big project. But that system interacts with the customer management, or the management software.
So does that program, is that something that once a customer puts it in, we can't just go, oh, this is BS and delete it?
It'll always be in the system.
So we can show there's a call on a pothole at 14th and Division every Wednesday.
It's just an extension of the ticketing system, like, it makes a lot of sense. It's just a simple ticketing system, and it just keeps track of it that way.
Yeah. And it'll always be there, so we can look at, we'll be able to track our response times. It'll allow us to track how many complaints do we have annually, how many of them are tree related, how many of them are pothole related, how many of them are water issues. It'll tell us all that data, and it'll allow us to mine out what is our biggest issues, where our
So
shortfalls.
if we have a bunch of potholes in one area, every 6 months, we know this is we're spending a lot of money on
Right.
patch there.
And that's where that's one of our things that we're working on, because that's going to help us really flesh out these short or small projects that we've been talking about. We've got a couple of them set for this year already, but to really get that data in our hands, to be able to say, this 100-foot stretch of road is costing us X number of manpower hours every year. We need to get out there and fix it. So that's gonna help us drastically. And we're looking to have that in sooner than the rest of the system. The rest of the system is gonna involve some purchases, which will be coming back before the commission as we get our final numbers together for what needs to be purchased. Everything that we have was budgeted for, and we are still comfortable with the estimates that we budgeted at the beginning of the budgeting cycle. One big news is signal timing plans are in. So all of our signals now, we have the timing plans. Haley is in the process of reviewing them and seeing how they're going to interact. And she is going to be programming controllers and placing the new controllers in the boxes. As of now, all of our grid smarts that we're planning on putting in, I think except for 2, are in place. The 2 that are not are signals that are still scheduled for rebuilds this year. So we are working diligently to have these in. We expect to have them in and be ready to do a timing review before the end of the year, at which point we'll be ready to start implementing the SCOOP system.
Just ours or integrated with MDOT?
We will not be able to integrate right away with MDOT, but eventually our hope is that we will. As it is now, Haley has been helping them and interacting with their signal crew. So we're building the bridge between the 2 of us to say, hey, you know, we can help you guys and you can help some other things here, but we need to get this coordinated.
They need to upgrade some.
They're going to have exactly the same system as we do. So everything that they're done with now, plus the rest of the software.
I've seen the trucks out there upgrading theirs already.
Good, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what all that stuff along the vision was them putting the scoop stuff? for
Yeah.
the-
Getting their signals upgraded so they can handle the scoops.
Still talking about a bucket truck?
We are.
Did you get an estimated cost from the say report?
C-Click Fix,
That says,
about $15,000. Put it into place.
is there an annual maintenance?
There is an annual cost that goes with that. They store all our data, so we don't have to worry about server space. It's always live because they have multiple servers dealing with it. It's all cloud-based, and it's our data, but they store it for us.
Only the labor times.
Yes.
All set?
That's it. That's it for me.
Oh, that's enough. No.
Just
Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding.
But are you?
Just kidding. Phil, hey, do you have any further comments? I know you covered the budget.
So, health insurance. I've reached out to Brown and Brown, because I knew we would be hitting that tipping point where we would no longer be a small carrier. Once we had 50 employees, we're at 51 active now. We're considered a large employer, so we won't be age rated based on our census. We'll be kind of a group rating. And I just wanted to compare apples to apples. You know, what was our 2020 rates under the last renewal versus the large plan. And so they came back to me and they actually went out and they looked at the blues. They went out and got quotes on our dental and vision, other providers as well. I was just kind of looking at priority because that's our biggest expense. And with those rates, we would be looking at a 9% reduction overall based on that same census.
Well, that's good. That's
You
good.
remember 2 years ago, we offered 8 plans and 3 of the plans were over the hard cap. Last year's renewal, just the PPO was over the hard cap. Looking at the rates, everything is under the hard cap now. The hard cap's going up 3.3% next year. But the one bit downside is, you know, in our contract, we, with the union, they specify plans 1 through 8. We won't be able to offer that, so we're gonna, probably part of negotiations, you know, kind of fix that, but we would be able to offer up to 3 plans, so maybe like a gold, silver, bronze type type of plan, depending on their needs, and
So 9%, it's a significant.
it's about 42,
I was
43
gonna say,
thousand.
it's enough to pay for player number 51.
Yeah, really, yeah,
Right.
look at it that way, yeah. Yeah,
And, you know, there's a few people that select with PTO that's, you know, paying a little bit over the hard cap, and most of that savings are coming right back to us. And even the demo and vision rates, you know, there's other carriers, other than our current, that has better benefits at a cheaper cost, so we're gonna see some savings, you know, in that area as well.
Good.
So,
Yes.
yes,
About time.
and I'm not surprised, I mean, age rated, our average age here is 47.5 years old among our active people, so we're.
Why are you looking at Wayne when you say
I'm probably on the other side.
that? Is he lowering the curve or raising it? Never mind.
But I know last year, we talked about putting everything out, employee benefits out, for our RFPs. We last did it in 2017. You know, last year was a short year. We switched from a May 1st to a January 1st renewal. So we continued with them. So if, you know, if we're going to go out for proposals, we're going to have to do that really quick, just because of the time it takes to go through that process and select somebody and then let them go out to the market and, you know, shop the other carriers. I mean, from our side, we were assigned a new client rep, Melissa, back in, I think, end of the year. Brandon kind of worked her through the renewal, and she's been very responsive. Heather's very satisfied, you know, working with her. And it's, last renewal went really smooth. Everybody got enrolled. We weren't having to, you know, chase people down.
Any thoughts, guys?
Well, I guess unless somebody can give me some definitive reason in dollars and cents why we should not continue, then why would we not? I mean, we're not buying our insurance from them. They're basically servicing and
We're paying somebody to
managing, we're
service.
paying somebody to manage and play nice with us.
And
But if
we're
they're
not
doing
paying
that, well, you know.
indirectly. So I checked today, and they don't take any, they just take the standard commissions that the providers give. And I requested, you know, what that amount was, and came out to about $33,500 last year. In their proposal, it was like $37,000. So they're currently under what they were anticipating back then.
So in terms of hiring like apprentice level people and everything, just make sure you get them down around the 20-year range, and that'll get us a half a year deduction per person you hire at 20.
You can hire him at 16.
They're never doing that anymore.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter now because we're not doing it.
51 is gonna be your three.
That was
Oh,
last
that's
year.
right, that's right. Oh, well, what I'm hearing is, you know, I guess everybody feels comfortable. I mean, you're paying, they're getting reimbursed the rate through the thing, and if we went down another 9%.
I'm not uncomfortable, other than the fact that we had said when we went through and hired this group of professionals, we had said we wanted to try to, or the general consensus was, go through and every 3 years, do an RFP for all professional services, just to make sure that the people who are providing the services are doing what they're, providing us the best service possible. I'm not saying we have to, I'm just saying that's kind of the general consensus when we did this last time.
Plus they're screwing up. What's the
It
difference?
sounds like it's better than it was when they first came on, by far.
Yeah,
By far.
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, I don't have.
I don't have all the history, you know, because they started before I started here. Sorry.
I mean, isn't the whole insurance industry got screwed up for a few years?
Yeah.
Just because, well, I don't
Yeah,
know
we're-
why, but it was pretty chaotic and not the fault of the individuals trying to earn a living in the industry. But I mean, if they're not screwing up, they're doing a good job, they're receptive, they're cost competitive. I think the 3-year thing was more for auditors and people like that. We didn't
Right.
create overwhelming degree of palsy-walsiness within that I mean, I don't want to say the auditor needs to be adversarial, but they need to at least be at arm's length with one another. But anyway, if it ain't broke, why worry about trying to fix it?
Go ahead.
Well, and management has, I mean, you're perfectly aware of any problems that the employees are having in terms of dealing with their benefits.
Nobody's had a single bad thing to say.
I mean,
Everybody,
everybody,
isn't that, I mean, why would we mess with that?
everybody who's gone through renewal has been able to do it. And I think maybe 3 people this year, Heather had to help with a couple of things, just because they had a change in situation more than anything else. And, you know, I mean, for explanation, fine, that's pretty easy anyway. It's just of why is this, why is this, what does it mean to me? Okay, you explain it to them and they're off. So, I mean, we haven't had any complaints from anybody other.
Mark, anything on your side of that?
Well, I've not been a big fan of this group since they came in because there was really some bad things that happened in the beginning, but none of our management team that's here today was here at that time. They worked it out with this organization. And I think right now, switching horses in the middle of the stream with, you know, precarious health situations and an economic downturn would be a bad idea. So if we're going to go out for an RFP, I would say that we go out, you know, in 2021. But right now, I think we just hold steady with what we've got.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, thank you. Very good. Dave, thanks for staying on top of that. That's a good thing. Wayne, anything? No?
Nope, I think we're moving along with our construction projects. We've shifted and adjusted and tried to maximize, you know, the projects getting done. And we'll be coordinating the small urban Hammond Road project with our local Hammond Road project. They're both going on for bids here in August.
Very good. Sounds good. Commissioner comments, I'm going to start off real quick. I got one thing. I was going through the report there, and it brought up that permits are steady, but apparently we have a few violations popping up as far as residential and utility based. How are we handling those situations?
This is a problem that we have had for a couple of years, and it's getting worse. I mean, Cheerly, the number that we have to deal with between Haley and Ron, they're pretty much on permits almost exclusively right now. Haley is not able to dedicate enough time to signals because she's dealing with permits. Well, if there's no time for that, there's obviously no time to be out actually checking on these contractors and patrolling them. It's been mainly a problem recently in the peninsula. And it's because everybody's having these seawalls built. So you've got contractors that are dumping rock in the road. One guy left his trailer in the road, disconnected it, and just drove away, leaving the trailer blocking a lane, no signs, nothing, on Peninsula.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a problem, and we have some issues that need to be worked out there, and we probably are going to be needing to look at, because of the amount of signal work we have, you're probably going to need to look at hiring an additional body who can help with permits as well as somebody who can deal with violations. Because right now, we do not have the staff time to deal with the signals and the violations and the permits. The permit volume is through the roof. There is no economic slowdown up here.
Okay.
So,
Well, the permits are supposed to include, I mean, the cost of managing it when we set up permits. And that's, so, I mean, we're gonna be, yeah,
The only concern is if we hire someone, and I'm not saying not to, but a concern that we might have is if we hire someone for this and suddenly we have the economic turn down, we're not getting permits. What do we do at that time? Do we say, or something that you can
Well,
find out for?
that's part of business.
Yeah, that is, yeah.
That when factories gear up because things are selling, when things aren't selling, they gear down.
But my question or point to consider is, when you're looking at hiring someone, because there's something else that they could do. And I mean, we've got lots of stuff in the organization where we're kind of,
Yeah.
well, if we had one more person, so instead of just someone for permitting, maybe someone that's got yeah, some skills that can be used elsewhere as
Yeah,
well.
and and the biggest thing is right now we don't have anybody that's able to deal with violations. So that's the biggest thing right now is them hitting out there with violations and catching these people who are blocking traffic and everything.
Would that be like
else.
a waymaster?
Well, they would be part of the Waymaster program if we go back to doing that in-house. We've had great success with the state police doing it for us, because they pull over people for things other than weight issues, which is nuts. But, so, yeah, I mean, there are other things that that person could do, depending on who it ends up being, I mean, if it's somebody that could be potentially part-time doing sign work and putting up signs, that takes somebody from Jay's crew, instead of having to dedicate 2 people from Jay's crew every day to do signs, that person then is helping to do signs for extra time if they need to. And there's no shortage of sign work to do either.
Right, like I said, I knew there was a lot of stuff going on that, so.
And we're looking to have somebody that can handle multiple facets of the organization. If that's where we're at, and we're working, Ron and I are gonna be talking more next week about, is there definitely enough to keep this person busy the whole time? And with the number of permits we have right now, it's big.
Okay, all right.
And I think we need to keep, Haley focused on what she's doing, because that certainly is, the signals and traffic control. That's been a carrot we've been sort of dangling out there for years now, and people are saying, well, when the hell are you gonna have it done? And because we were told 2, 3, 4 years ago we're gonna have it done, and we're still, so anyway, I guess, yeah, we need to make sure that she doesn't get burned, and whether or not, I don't know, you got state police doing, I think it's off the wall, can we contract with, the off-duty sheriff deputy or something to go out there and deal with really horrible violations, like a truck in the middle of the road. Those kind of things, to where somebody who has some sort of, I guess, law enforcement moxie can deal with some of those people.
Yeah.
Just off the truck. Yeah, I think as long as, just gotta make sure we don't get, Haley deterred too much.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I mean,
That's the 1A priority is the signals. I think.
Yes, and that's one of the things that we'd have to make sure is that we have somebody that can be diplomatic, but can also be a hard body when he needs to be or she needs to be, that can handle, because you're gonna get yelled at. You can't be somebody who's gonna take it personally, but yes, I mean, it's gotta be someone who can actually go out and deal with these people. So yes, we would definitely make that a condition.
The only thing I guess we gotta remember or consider, when are we gonna do RFP for the other professional services? That's something we should probably discuss at some point, if we're gonna do that this year, or it's gonna be, till next year. Because we did say, like Bill said, the auditors, the lawyers, all those other services that we wanna make sure that they're doing what they need to do and not too tight. That's all I got.
Well, speaking of violations and somebody who's able to handle them, okay. Ron's doing a good job letting me know that my signs have been on the right of way. You get some people get excited by your campaign and they want to go up and put signs up for you. And then you find out that they're like within, they can reach out and grab cars as they go by and at certain intersections. So I've had to remove a couple, but he's doing a fine job of making sure that we know what the policy is. And I didn't yell at him. He's not in a corner crying. Yeah. Yeah, but.
Well, you weren't the only one.
No, I
There were
know, but I
several
wanted
people.
to clarify that we are not exempt from the policy just because we're commissioners, So, but anyhow, otherwise, he's doing a fine job.
Okay. Mark, anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay, all right. We are down to our last public comment.
Any Any person may make an advanced appointment with the board regarding road commission topics for a regular or special meeting in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. If an appointment is made, the topic will be an agenda item. The following applies to public comments. Please state his or her name and address. Topic must be relevant to the road commission. Individuals are allowed to speak once for up to 3 minutes on a single topic, which may be extended by the chair. A group addressing the board requires a designated spokesperson who may speak up to 10 minutes, and the board will not act on any item from the public that is not on the agenda. For remote access users, Zoom, if you wish to participate in public comment, please raise your hand. For call-ins, we will unmute. If you wish to speak, say yes.
We have no call-ins, but we do have one hand raised from Ken Blanchett. And you are unmuted and allowed to speak. You need to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes, Ken.
Hello, first of all. And I watched the whole meeting tonight and I stayed for this part because I really, really felt that it was very important for me to thank you commissioners tonight for approving the development and reimbursement agreement for Stadium Road project. On the behalf of the township, and I can speak for my entire board, we appreciate your investment into our community and greatly appreciate this partnership project. I know it's a little different than the standard partnership project because this is a reimbursable project. The 30-acre parcel that Brad touched on, I just want the commissioners to know that the sale through the land bank was actually pending on having this project go through. It's a 300-unit apartment complex. Edward Rose and Son is the developer. Big in-ground pool and clubhouse and all sorts of amenities, which I think will assist out in this area with our housing shortage we have. 1 and 2 bedroom apartment complexes. They couldn't give us the exact number for what they're going to charge for rent because they have to do the market study, but their closest guesstimate was starting around the $850 range up to $1,200 depending on which apartment unit you got. So we're super excited about that as a township. We now have Blaine's in H&M Development, and they're building as fast as they can. Their biggest issue they have now is getting materials shipped to them in order to meet the demands of the buyers that they have. We've got the apartment complexes. That's a high probability. Our planning commission approved their special use, so it's coming to our township board in August. And Blaine still owns those 2 outlots that are available. They're just over an acre a piece, and we've really been pushing from the township level, reaching out to different places, Big B Coffee, for example, Chick-fil-A, maybe. Trying to help the realtor. We're trying to market that for him. We want it gone so we all get our money back sooner than later. So with that being said, thank you all again. I really, really appreciate it. And I know John McGee and Glenn Harrington from H&M Development appreciate it as well. So thanks, guys.
Okay. So that was it, Joe, or
We have no others.
no other raised hands? All right, I think we're to that point.
Move to adjourn.
Support. Okay, very good.